Hi, I'm Nate with Average Jack Archery and AverageJackArchery.com, where orders $99 and up get free shipping. You can shop anything that's in our store at any given time, and we ship anywhere across the lower 48. Today, we're going to talk about target panic and how you can solve it with just a sight, your release, and a piece of string. So let's get something very clear on my view on target panic and what target panic looks like and what target panic actually is. Because in my store, I see the full gambit. I see everybody from, we just can't get the pin just to sit where we want it to before the bow goes off, all the way down to complete body convulsions in fear that the bow is going to go off when it's not in the middle. We're going to get a bad score. We're going to hit the deer and back, gut shot, all night track job, one of those kind of deals. Target panic takes a lot of different forms for a lot of different types of people. However, it all stems from the same three problems, at least the way that I mentally think of it in three problems. And problem number one is the vision, what you're actually seeing downrange. Problem two, what your brain does with what you see. And then problem three, how your muscles react to what your brain and eyes are doing when they talk to each other. Yes, I know your brain controls all three of them. But just for the sake of argument, let's break it down into three parts, and we're going to start first with your sight picture and what your eyes see. So I've got a B3 scope here with a lens and a 19th thou pin in it, but this applies to any type of sight picture, not just target. This applies to 3D animals, this applies to hunting, paper, you name it. The number one thing that causes target panic is the vision, what you're actually seeing downrange. So when a lot of people say that the cure for target panic or one of the steps for target panic is blank bailing, what blank bailing is when you stand very close to a target, you can take the sight off the target, you can close your eyes and shoot at the target, 5-6 feet away. Big target, easy, you're just trying to get the feel for the shot. The feel for the shot is not the problem. Anybody with target panic doesn't have a problem with sending the arrow. Okay, let's make that very clear. That's actually the problem, is that we send the arrow when we don't want it to. In reality, why? Is because our vision, what we see downrange, doesn't agree with what our brain is telling us to see with our vision before it then tells the muscles to activate the release. So first and foremost, we have to get comfortable with what we're seeing downrange. So one of the best things you could possibly do is take your sight off the bow, leave the bow behind. We don't even need that. Take the sight off your bow. If you want to leave it on your bow, you can. Take an old sight, whatever. But I prefer to use the sight that I'm going to be using for hunting, or I do a lot of target shooting as well. I want to see exactly what I'm looking at. I'm going to take that sight, I'm going to hold it out at arm's length. I'm right-handed, as a right-handed shot, so I'm going to hold it with my left hand, and I'm just going to point at stuff. And when I say point at stuff, I mean I'm just pointing at stuff. I can sit in my living room while watching a football game, and I can just point at stuff around my living room. The visualization of the target, and particularly a spot, whether it's a white dot, a black dot, or a Vegas face in particular, man, you break out the rainbow colors and people really freak out. That's why a lot of guys say, oh, I do a lot better on an animal. I do a lot better on a 3D target, because it's not an actual spot, right? We're kind of aiming at that vital V on a whitetail or an elk or a mule deer. We're kind of aiming in a general pocket area on a 3D target, or unless you're being smart and actually aiming at a ring. That'd be the easiest thing to do to actually see how well you're doing with score, but I digress. Aiming at actual things that aren't actually what you're trying to hit. So I got a sapling right here. I can aim at this knot. I can aim at this little piece of lichen over here, and I'm just going to hold it there. And I want to get used to that visual representation of, I'm going to put my pin somewhere and the bow's not going off. You want to get your eyes trained to seeing your pin exactly where you want it to be. I don't know if I learned it from somebody or if I just kind of picked it up through a couple bits and pieces of trial and error. But instead of shooting at spots on your target, whether it's a bag target or a block target, take a couple pieces of tape. Duct tape works really well. And make a polygon shape. A square, a rectangle, I like triangles. And the idea is, instead of aiming in the center, right, trying to hit the center of a spot, aim at the corners, right? They're not normal. So that's why I like a triangle, right? It's not a plus sign, it's not a 90-degree angle. It's a, if you made like an equidistant triangle, right? So an equilateral triangle, oh boy, a little geometry there. You're aiming at the corners, or what I really like to do is inside the corner, right? I'll see how close I can get inside the corner to hitting the tape before I actually hit it. Again, I'm just trying to get comfortable with putting my pin on something without my brain freaking out thinking, okay, that needs to go off, right? So ultimate test, get a Vegas face, put it across your workshop, put it across your bedroom. I don't care, you're laying in bed one night instead of watching TV, put it in the middle of the Vegas face and watch it bounce around, and just train your eye to get used to seeing something that you want to happen without any bow involved. Now, how long this takes and how long it takes you to get comfortable, that's different for every single person. For me, it took me 1 to 2 weeks of just walking around in the spring and summertime, during turkey season, during, right now we're here in early July. you know, just holding up and around and pointing at things around my house, around my yard, whatever, just getting used to putting my pin on something that isn't a spot on a target. That could take a bit, okay? But once you feel comfortable and confident that your eyes are okay with that and your body's not having convulsions and your brain's like, no, send it now, then you could start working on what your brain is gonna do. So at this point then, still gonna be using the sight, or if you wanna break out the bow, you can. And if you actually wanna shoot your bow, but what you wanna do is now you are holding it back and you're never putting your finger on the trigger. What you're doing is you're telling your brain, I'm holding a release, I'm putting the pin in the middle of the target, but nothing is going to happen. You need to tell your brain that you are in control. Sure, your brain is your control. I get it, all right? But you need to tell your brain, I am in complete control of this situation. The arrow does not need to go off. My finger doesn't even have to touch the trigger. One thing I tell everybody in the store, when we go in paper tune in particular, when you're gonna go paper tune, this is like you're actually trying to hit a target. It's not just a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. This is we're actually gonna pull up, we're gonna aim at something. I actually take an arrow and I poke holes in the paper. I say, put your 20-yard pin on that paper hole right there, and actually like you're trying to execute a shot on a live animal, on an actual target, because that's how we wanna tune. The same thing's true here. We have complete control. Now this is why I like to do it without a bow. I'll actually just take a release, I'm using a handheld style release here today. I'm gonna use a handheld style thumb button. I'm gonna go ahead and activate it. I'm gonna come back to full draw and I'm just gonna sit here looking at my pin, okay? And I don't even need to put my thumb on the trigger, all right? If you wanna have your bow, that's great. But then you have to let down, you have to draw all the time. That's no fun when you're shooting 60, 70 pounds. But I'm just gonna say, all right, I'm gonna hold in this leaf. I don't even have to put my thumb on the trigger. But my hand is holding a release, or it's wrapped around my wrist if you're shooting a wrist strap style release. The whole idea is that I am holding on to this release and I'm holding on to this sight and I see my sight picture and I can let down. Again, if you're using a real bow, you can let down, or if you're just doing this, obviously just let down. The concept again is telling, I am in complete control of what's happening on both ends of the spectrum. Your head's in the middle, right? Hand back here, hand out here. You're telling it, I'm in complete control of this situation and I don't need to shoot. Now, when you're ready for the next step, again, this is what I like doing without a bow, is I can come up, I can put it in the middle of that leaf over there, and I can start squeezing. Squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, there it goes, okay? I want it to be, in this case, and I've got plenty of videos on this already, I want it to be a whole hand squeeze. So with a handheld style release, I want it to feel like I have a lemon in my hand and I'm just squeezing the whole hand, all right? So all the fingers are coming together. I call it a gross motor skill. As soon as you go to just the thumb, right? I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna hover and there it goes. Get used to being on the trigger. You are the one in complete control. That bow cannot fire. This release can sit here all day, cocked, all day. It's only when you start squeezing. And I'm squeezing and squeezing the whole hand, there it goes, okay? That's when I'm trying to train my brain that I'm in complete control of what happens here and what happens up front. Got a piece of string. I'm gonna now start bringing all the pieces together. Now I'm gonna start feeling tension. Again, this is why I don't like the bow even being involved yet, okay? Because we're dealing with a mental issue here, not a physical issue. This is a mental issue. But I like the feeling of, okay, I'm at full draw, there's my sight picture, add a little bit of tension, I'm gonna aim at the center of that leaf and I'm just squeezing. And I'm okay with being in the center of that leaf, okay? I'm okay with being there and I'm telling my brain, your thumb's on the trigger, your finger's on the index trigger, whatever. I'm in complete control here. There is no point at which this bow can send itself. There's no point at which this release can break without me doing it, all right? That is a huge, 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 huge deal. Because as soon as you are able to control that, the sooner you have the complete control in any situation over your equipment. So again, here I am, I'm at full draw, I'm gonna aim at that leaf. I don't care if my sight's level, if I'm looking at everything great, I'm just squeezing my whole hand. Okay, that's what I want. That I'm telling my brain, I'm in control of what this looks like, I'm in control of how you talk to this, and I'm in control of how you talk to the release. Yes, this is easier said than done, particularly once you put a bow in your hand. But I'm telling you, put a different style target down range. Take a leaf off a tree and put it on your target, an oak leaf or a maple leaf, something that's got points on it, right? Something that's different than a spot, aim at the points. Take that duct tape triangle. Do something that's outside of the norm. Again, I see this all the time. I'm really good at shooting at animals, I'm not good shooting at spots. You have target panic, that's why. Now the last piece of the puzzle is arguably the most difficult because it actually requires you being in a high stress situation. I've heard all different ways you can do it. Go do laps around your yard, do a whole bunch of push-ups, your muscles are shaky, you're breathing hard. That actually doesn't simulate when your brain is going out of control, because you know you're in your backyard. Okay, you know you're in your backyard. If you miss the bullseye, no deer is getting wounded. No one sees it. It's just you, right? We're all the champion of our own backyard. The best way to cure target panic after you get all of this visualization and telling your brain and your hand and your sight picture that you are in control is to put yourself in high stress situations. Really, the only way most guys do that is in a hunting situation. Right? Very few guys actually go out and shoot leagues. Very guys actually go out and shoot 3D tournaments compared to the actual target community. The greatest archers on the planet are the amateurs out there right now that are shooting in national and statewide competitions, because there is money on the line. There's your reputation on the line, right? The scores get posted, right? People see how you actually do. That is high stress. And that is the kind of stress that you can have and that you can build upon that makes you better in the woods. Paper shooters in particular. Us here in the north, I'm here in Pennsylvania, where it's winter 6 months out of the year. The vast majority of the time we spend our bows shooting indoors during the winter time. And all of our league shooters that come into our shop, all of them improve and improve drastically. Okay, again, we're all kings of our own backyard, but a Vegas face will really show you what your target panic looks like, what your pin float looks like, and how well your brain communicates between both hands. So the best thing I can tell you is go shoot actual competitions, right? Sure, we can sit here and do this with the string all day long. We got our sight picture, we can wrap our thumb, we can do a whole hand squeeze, we can do all that sort of stuff, but actually putting yourself out there. I know there's some traveling involved, there's some money involved, there's definitely time involved, but it will drastically help you, because you only get a handful of shots at a deer in a year. Okay, unless you live in a state, like here in Pennsylvania, we're a $1 state, you maybe shoot 1 or 2 does a year. That's really only 3 high stress situations a year. Whereas, in someone in my case, I'm shooting the Lancaster Archery Classic, big indoor shoot. You have Vegas, you have your local indoor stuff. When I shot my very first local indoor, Vegas, and I actually won, I can tell you that is the most stressed I have ever been, ever, period. I'm just shooting in the bow hunter class against just local bow hunter guys. And I'm up there absolutely convulsing. I'll never forget, I'm up there on the stage and I'm literally just completely losing everything. Just like this. And I'm just squeezing the whole time, hoping I hit the center. That is how I know that I'm able to combat target panic when it comes around. Target panic is not like a head cold where you get one and then maybe you have immunity to it. Target panic always lives there. It is always in between your ears. It constantly is there. It's a little seed in the back. It's if you give it the opportunity to grow. But if you give it the opportunity to grow, you have to have the ability to kill it, right? And we kill it by being able to tell our brain and tell our body, we're in control of this whole situation. If I don't want this shot to go off, it doesn't have to go off. Same thing's true with a whitetail and elk in the woods. If the shot's not there, have the ability to say the shot's not there, and all of a sudden your success rate goes up in the woods because you're able to wait for that animal to turn broadside instead of slightly quartering to. You're able to wait for it to come closer, able to wait for it to move behind the tree, because you're telling your brain, I'm in control, and I need that animal to step out, and I need to be able to make a good shot. That's the basis of target panic and how to practice fixing it. If you feel like I left you with any questions though, please do drop them down here in the comment section below. You can always reach out to us on social media, Average Jack Archery, both Facebook and Instagram. If you're local to the central Pennsylvania area or in the Northeast in general, and you need a home shop, you're welcome to see us at 21 North Front Street. And of course, you can always shop at averagejackarchery.com. Like I said, we ship to anywhere in the lower 48. Orders $99 and up, $100 and up, ship free. And we've got a lot of different sites and releases, arrows, broadheads, bows, you name it, that we can ship across the country. We can get you set up for success this fall or the tournament range. Hope you're able to get outside, enjoy the sport of archery hunting if you definitely so choose. Definitely enjoy God's beautiful creation. And don't be afraid about target panic. It's all between the ears. I will get to see you next time.